Well, hello everyone. Happy afternoon. It's a beautiful Monday after celebrating Valentine's Day. I hope that you were able to be surrounded by love, by joy, and just the overall good feeling that there is someone out there in this beautiful world that holds you in high regard and loves you very much. My name is Shanita, and welcome to today's Stories of the Soul book club for February 2025. Now, our book this month is Gifts of Imperfection by the one and only Brene Brown. And the reason I chose this book for our February selection is because it's wonderful to not only do self evaluation, to be self aware, and to really know what's going on in the inner parts of us. But the beautiful thing about it is to accept us as we are in this moment and to see the beauty in us as we are moving toward being the highest, truest, and best versions of ourselves. So, our episode today, I want you to really understand deeply, as deeply as you can, why accepting yourself, even though you may not be where you want to be, is the most important part of moving forward to evolving. Because let's face it, if you are stuck in a pattern of always saying or seeing what you don't like about yourself, it's just going to make you stay stuck where you are for a lot longer than you really want or plan to be. So let me just say, welcome everybody in today's episode. If you're new here, thank you for being here. I greatly appreciate you stopping by. If this is not your first time and you're coming back, thank you so much for seeing what I do and having value in that, and for coming back for more helpful tools on how to have beautiful, soul aligned relationships. Now, many of you know that I am an empath and a highly sensitive person. So I have a double whammy that I manage. And when I come to you guys on this YouTube format, I'm really fighting through a lot of self, I don't want to say self imposed, because a lot of this I'm just having to deal with. But the fact to talk to a computer screen and there's no one else on the other side, that's really hard for me. So I just want to say shout out for myself for accepting this beautiful challenge. And as I grow and get better on this platform, I love that I am challenging myself to do this so that I can be of true service and value to everyone else out there. So with that, let me remind you, our book selection for February of 2025 is Gifts of Imperfection. And I have written down some notes that I enjoyed um, going through and making as I read the selection this month. And if you're on my monthly newsletter, and trust me, you only get one email a month because that's all the time I have. So make sure you sign up for the monthly newsletter, so that way you know what books we're doing and why. Okay? All right, so let's get started. So Brene Brown reminds us that until we can receive with an open heart, we are never really giving with an open heart. Okay, did you catch that? So she's saying until you can learn to receive, that your giving will not be as potent or powerful. And I know as empaths and highly sensitive people, we're like, what does she mean by that? Like, I'm a great giver, but there has to be mutual energy exchange. It's a give and take. It's a flow between two people, being able to say, here is the best of me. Now allow me to receive the best of you in return. And this is one area, especially as a spiritual and relationship coach, that I address in every coaching session I have, just about, or at least with every client. It's that big, beautiful heart that we have, and we get embarrassed to receive. We feel like we're not worthy to receive. And we just feel like we can't, not so much you can't trust the person that's giving to you, um, but the insecurities that you feel on the inside really put a wall up between you and allowing you to receive from someone who is just as beautiful and big-hearted as you are. So this year, in this 9 years, this year of completion, I'm really picking books and selections that help us to really think about and conquer these limitations that we have as big-hearted people. Because it's one thing I know that as I'm healing myself and growing and evolving, it's helping me to be that much more impactful in my work, as a wife, as a sister, as a friend, and it really feels good when you conquer these hurdles. So let's begin. I've got some discussion points that I want us to go over and talk about. So one of I think 4 or 5 discussion points I have is we're going to talk about personal connection in this book. This personal connection is how the book really talks about self-love and heart-centered relationships. Now, one of the things that we must be mindful of, and this is something that even as recently as last week that I became aware of, is how perfectionism holds us back. Brene says insights on why perfectionism stifles growth and connection. It and one of the ways it showed up in my life is that I wanted to make sure that I was doing things right, was wanting to make sure that I was being right for myself, and it just really kept me stuck in overthinking. Now, how many of you out there deal with overthinking, overanalyzing everything to the where you get analysis paralysis? Have you guys ever heard that term? Analysis paralysis. And it just simply means you're so stuck in your thoughts and trying to process everything that it renders you inactive. You don't move forward, you just stay stuck. You're paralyzed. And so that's one of the things that I really have to be mindful of. And unfortunately for me, in that analysis paralysis, there's a little bit of being hard on myself, being down on myself. So I have to be mindful of when I start to go into that, to shut it down right there and just go, I have this inner guidance that I'm developing that I really trust, and I'm going to go with that. It has yet to steer me wrong. And I know my inner guidance is not going to steer me wrong in the future. Now, another big thing that whether you're an empath or not, many people struggle with, and that is vulnerability. I remember growing up, and vulnerability was seen as something as a weakness because you don't want to tell people what's going on with you because you don't want them to use it against you. But what I want to suggest to all of us, whether we're empathic or highly sensitive, is that vulnerability is one of your greatest strengths. Now, how that is true for me, it has been I get to be the author and the narrator of my story. I get to share with whom and when and how I want my story of my life to be shared. And in those moments when I'm making a one-to-one connection with a client, with a stranger, with a family member, whomever, I get to offer parts of me that really help to resonate with other people and to help bring them some hope or bring them some guidance that really pulls them out of wherever they are. So for me, being vulnerable is a seat of power because I am empowering myself to connect with others. Now, in the book, she also shares practical exercises about self reflection, journaling, and this, that, and the other. And I am a big journaler. I love it. Um, Last year, specifically, is when I really took my journal game to the next level. So much so that I authored 2 guided journals to help people with the task of finding out who they really are with their boundaries, how those boundaries are really shaping their relationships. And if they're in a relationship or a dynamic that really isn't serving them, how their thoughts and how their perceptions of how they're coming across to other people are really affecting the dynamics in their business, work, romantic, or friendship relationships. So I want you guys to check that out. They're at Amazon. Just go to Shanita Sanders and you'll be able to see both guided journals. And feel free to check them out. And I know that they will really bless you on this journey of self awareness and development. Now, one of the call to actions that I noticed in her book is that she really wanted to encourage you guys to participate in what she calls guideposts. And she listed 10 guideposts in her book. And I want to go over those with us. So I'm going to make sure I get my notes and I do it correctly. All right. So the first of the 10 guideposts that Brene Brown lists is cultivating authenticity. It's really important that we let go of what people think and allow ourselves to truly embrace who we believe ourselves to be. Now, I know for many people, whether you're empathic, highly sensitive, or not, really getting a sense of who we are, accepting that part of us, and really standing in that is a process, right? And I know we typically associate that with adolescence and how teenagers really begin to develop their sense of self and press those boundaries to see how far they can go with this sense of self. And we want people to be able to, by the time they're adults, certainly my age, um, they really have this sense of self and they walk firmly in that. But while that is the ideal, there are a lot of people out there that are struggling. And it's not because they have a mental illness or any type of deficiency. It's because we have done a good job in our society um, suppressing who we are because we are listening to the voices of our parents and we are trying to meet their expectations and do what they ask instead of saying, this is who I am and I want to follow with this. Or you are becoming someone else at work because you want to go along to get along. And over time, you realize this is not who I am. This is how I've created myself to be so that I can be accepted, and so on and so forth. So if you are a person that is in a situation like that where you truly need to know your own self identity, unfiltered, this is a beautiful book for you to begin because it gives you to see, look, as amazing as I am, even I have imperfections that I need to work on. And that certainly is me, and I own that, and I'm happy to own that. So making sure that you are cultivating your own personal authenticity. This is one of the beautiful guideposts that is shared in the book. All right, so number 2, cultivating self-compassion. Now, the longer you linger around my channel and you see my work on social media, you know that self-compassion, I believe, is the cornerstone to healing because you got to make sure you let yourself know that whatever mistakes you make, whatever missteps you make, whatever expectations you don't quite live up to, you got to give yourself reassurance that you're safe within yourself. You got to release the perfectionism that's tied to um, your journey. And you've got to make sure that you are giving just as much kindness and love to yourself as you freely give to other people. As I was saying a moment ago, sometimes we're a bit hard on ourselves. We have this you should mentality. And that's not always true. For the majority of the time, the word should really gets us in trouble. And especially when we anchor it to ourselves. Listen, it would be ideal for us to always get it right, to always be perfect in every situation. And our brain says that's not true. But traveling down to this heart space, these few precious inches, is where the disconnect happens. So as we begin to process, you're right, I should not have to be perfect all the time. We have to make sure that in our heart, we're preaching the same message. And that just means every day, always reassuring ourselves, oh, I didn't wake up when I wanted to. That's okay. I enjoyed the few extra minutes in bed. Oh, I didn't recook all my meals for the week. That's okay. I love that I'm introducing new things in my life. So making sure you really quiet those hard negative voices and begin to speak more compassionate words around yourself. And what you'll begin to learn is that as you give it to yourself, you are that much more empowered and free to give it to other people because it's coming up and out of you as opposed to I'm just giving what I'm tired and I'm frustrated and I'm exhausted because I'm giving out of fumes. I'm just overworking myself and not pouring back into the pot. So cultivating authenticity and compassion. And the third one is cultivating a resilient spirit. Now, let me tell you, as someone that really tries to be there and just help cultivate this for myself, things are not always going to work out. And the ability to bounce back as quickly as you can is such a beautiful skill for all empaths and highly sensitive people. And the reason why this is a beautiful thing is because, look, trials, tribulations, and everything else are going to come. But the more you pour into yourself, that self compassion, the easier it's going to be when you give yourself permission to say, I didn't quite hit the mark on that, but I'm so proud of my effort and the fact that I'm in there and I'm giving it my best. I'm proud of me for that. You are much quicker to bounce back from whenever, when you cultivate these things on a daily basis. Okay? So, cultivating gratitude and joy. I've said it for so many years, and I hope people can hear the wisdom in what I'm about to say in this. Cultivating gratitude is truly your biggest ticket to abundance. Now, when I say abundance, I don't mean necessarily monetary abundance. I'm talking about spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical abundance. Because when you see what you have around you and you give thanks for that, you truly are opening up the channels for more to come in. And it was a lesson that took me decades to learn because I said, this can't be, this is too simple. It has to be a 20-step process in order to be able to truly manifest what it is I want. But the older I'm getting, the more I can see how waking up every day and saying thank you. You know, it's cold outside, but I'm so grateful for this big, beautiful blanket I have. Just anything you can find yourself to be grateful for from a very authentic and genuine place. And when you are in that state, as you get more and more into that state, that joy just truly follows, and you find yourself smiling for no apparent reason. But that is the overflow that is being cultivated and coming out of you. And when you step outside your doors and you're at work or you're at the grocery store, wherever, people are going to feel that from you long before they even speak to you. And this, from when you share this with this person, they share it with the next. You are having such an amazing impact on the world and you don't even know it. So make sure that you are cultivating gratitude. Find something that you can be grateful for and let it allow it to be very genuine and authentic. And just keep going there. And I promise you, within a short period of time, you're going to realize that all these things that I felt were deficient within me, well, that's really not necessarily true. And, or those things that you are wanting to call in, those things that you really are wanting, they will begin to find themselves to you, and that is going to make it take it to the next level again because now you're beginning to see real evidence of these things happening in your life. Now, the next one is to cultivate intuition and trusting faith. One of the beautiful things I love about this journey in my life is that it started with me trusting my inner guidance. And just for the record, so I can make it very plain and clear, I hope more than anything that you begin to develop your intuitive guidance, your intuition, because it is the most important thing that you should engage in your journey. You should be trusting and going within to yourself long before you reach out to anybody else. I see intuition as God within me. Call it whatever name you want. Name that energy whatever you want. I celebrate you and I celebrate that. But for me, my intuitive guidance steers me right where I need to be every single time. And making sure that I listen to that, honor that. It has given me so much. Now, I went from I didn't trust it to now it's the top thing on my list, right? And I started with little things because I had to learn how to do that. And for me, I started with something as simple as when I would hear that intuitive voice in my head that told me to take my umbrella. And I looked outside and it was just as bright and sunshiny as everything. I said, you know what? My guidance said, take the umbrella. Of course, I called it something else. I think my first mind or something like that I used to call it. Something told me, I think that's what it was. Something told me to take that umbrella. Well, I would take the umbrella. And sure enough, before I stepped outside again, it was pouring, raining. And I began to give gratitude because I said, I'm so glad I listened to myself. Well, friends, you can have many moments of that. When your intuitive guidance is sharing with you, it is like God walking before you in the later parts of the day and saying, oh, I think you're going to need this. And sometimes it's going to be some crazy, bizarre things, right? But that's the joy in it. What's the harm in bringing the umbrella? So begin to cultivate that muscle, that relationship with yourself, with the God in you. And your intuition will never steer you wrong. And you will be you will be so surprised how listening to when these small things come up and you say, something told me to, it's helping me make major life decisions that are bringing so much abundance in my life. Now, the next thing is cultivating creativity. Now, when you're letting go of comparison and you're embracing expression, this is wonderful because every one of us have been gifted gifts and talents. And it's up to us to become aware of those gifts and talents and express them. Now, my empaths and highly sensitive people, I'm just going to say it like this. I really believe we're the light workers of the world now. And it's time for us to embrace these beautiful spiritual gifts that we have and allow ourselves to be out there using them. And here's the thing, I want to go ahead and share this with you that you're going to be seen as crazy. You're going to be seen as kooky. And you're going to be seen as woo woo. But guess what? If you are truly following your internal guidance and you are really falling into alignment with who you are, none of that's going to matter because you're going to be so excited for learning and growing into who you are and how this gift of whatever is really useful for the world we live in right now. Those labels are not even going to matter to you. As a matter of fact, they may even be confirmation that you're on the right path. Hello. So make sure that you are cultivating your creativity, learning who you are, valuing who you are. You've been created with these beautiful set of gifts and talents. Make sure you are using them, not only for yourself, your family, your community, but here is a world, as you and I know it, that is hungering for these gifts. Now, the next one, oh, here's a big one. Cultivating play and rest. Prioritizing rest and fun, especially when you're exhausted and you're overworked. Now, here's a big one. I've been harping on rest for a couple years now. And even I have been taking my rest game to a whole nother level. But what I'm learning in the gift of rest is that it allows me to get way more done. I'm so much more productive and present when I get the rest that I need. Now, let me clarify, rest is not about sleeping more hours. That's great and all. But when I'm talking about rest, I'm talking about intentional focus. You can sit on the couch and be resting. You could take a walk on the in the park and be resting. It's when you're saying, I'm taking a break from whatever and I'm just allowing myself to be. When we become adults, we get this word responsibilities in our heads for good reason, and we throw out play. We throw out rest because we have now seen working more to get what we need or even to have more as more valuable. But what I want to suggest to us all is make sure that you are introducing play and intentional rest into your daily practice. Now, it doesn't have to be hours. Start with 5 minutes, but just long enough to where your body says, okay, there is beauty in the stillness. There is value in allowing my body to catch up with everything that's coming its way. I want to be able to be still and allow. This is really going to up your personal development game so much more. Now, we talked about cultivating calm and stillness just a moment ago, but this helps us to really release anxiety, release any stress, and just to reconnect. So many of us are so disconnected from who we are, but getting that self awareness will help us to A, know who we are, but two, to know when we are beginning to get disconnected. So, really cultivating stillness and awareness. I ask all my clients, if you can give yourself 5 minutes a day, minimum 5 minutes a day, at the top of your day, that's ideal. But it doesn't matter when you do it. But 5 minutes a day to just breathe, take at least three intentional breaths, and then ask yourself silently, what do we need today? What can I do to best serve myself? Because we are so wired as empaths to say, look, I want to be there for other people. I'm a giver. I love to be of service. And there's nothing wrong with that. My whole approach to coaching is to help us all be that much better because we're giving from a place of overflow. We're not discounting who we are at the sacrifice of being there for other people. And for the highly sensitive part of me, when we step out into the world, our, I call it Wi-Fi signal, is going off. We're receiving so much silently. And we have to make sure that we give our body the time to rest and be still because our senses are being assaulted so much. We're so connected to other people and we read people so well and we know things and we're just like, I don't know how I know that, but I do. But that is our gift. But even a gift needs to be well taken care of. You are the gift, my friend. Make sure you're using stillness and calm to give yourself the break that you need. Now the next one is cultivating meaningful work. Engaging in work that aligns with you and your personal and purposeful values. So this is typically when individuals are around their late 30s, early 40s, come away from the hustle and grind of I got to make my way into this world and accumulate into saying now the time that I spend working, I want it to have meaning and purpose. This is when we start phasing over into our legacy work. And if you are someone that is into that, this is why cultivating all the things that I've listed before becomes very meaningful. You want to make sure that you're present for it. Who wants to go to work and be exhausted and tired when you are working in a job or a position that is aligned with your personal values? When you feel like you're going to work and the work you do is adding purpose. I don't know about you, but I like showing up the way I am right now. Joyful, happy, feeling inspired and motivated. Because I want other people that I work with to walk away feeling the same way. But it's easier to do when the work I do feels like it has meaning for me, when it has value. And the more self aware you become, the more you know yourself, the better you are to know how to align your spirit, your mind into this work that you call very purposeful. So I want to make sure that you're cultivating this, even if you're not in a position right now to do that. Begin to ask yourself, what work would be very meaningful for me? If I could spend the remainder of my working years doing something that I really love and enjoy, what would that be? Allow yourself to dream. Begin to envision because you never know where that's going to take you. And that gratitude will connect you to that more and more. Now, the next one, and I believe this is the last one, this is number 10, cultivating laughter, song, and dance. Listen, we got energy. We're energetic beings. And sometimes that energy can be low vibrational, dense, heavy. Sometimes it can be happy and high and lighter. But through it all, let's do things that make us happy and feel good. And there's nothing like a good song and a good dance to move, that movement that gets that energy working, that lets it go and get it out of us. But who says you can't have fun in the process, right? So listen, more than anything, I want you to be creative. The Gifts of Imperfection has been a beautiful book to read this month. I hope it's still February. I hope you get a chance to read it if you haven't. If you have read it before, I hope you can go back through it and see how you can insert yourself into it and how you can use these 10 guideposts, as Brene Brown says, to really help us to take what we see as flaws and see, hey, we might not be so bad after all, or to take those guideposts and really help us nurture and develop who we are. I know that wholehearted living and just embracing the imperfections, the vulnerability, and the authenticity, it can be daunting at first. But think of it as an adventure. You're going on an adventure, and the whole point of the adventure is to really discover who I am and to have fun along the way, to not be so serious. Because I don't care who you are. You're going to encounter something that, A, you don't like, or, ugh, I wish I hadn't have done that. Or, I wish that wasn't me. But no matter what, love yourself throughout. There are so many things that I could change about me. I'm not perfect, but guess what? I know I won't be on this side of heaven either. And I'm okay with that because it's a big adventure. My heart's good. I give when I can. But those parts of me that I know I need to change, I'm working on that too. But I love Shanina no matter what. I love her because even in the hard moments, she's giving it her all. She's doing the best she can. And she's doing it with a smile on her face. So those things tell me and let me know that I'm okay to make mistakes. I'm okay when I make missteps. But I'm going to learn from it. I'm going to grow through it. And I know I'm going to come out on the other side better for it. Now, here's some other things that Brene Brown said that I want us to think about: courage, compassion, and connection. These are the three guideposts for letting go of perfectionism and living with joy. Fear and shame. Fear and shame keeps us small, and why embracing vulnerability is the key to freedom. Listen, we all have things that we wish we could change. I know I do, back in my past, right? Because the person you see here today in this video is not who I was last week, 10 years ago, and certainly not 30 years ago, right? So I want to celebrate the evolution, to see where it all started and to see where I am now. And to say, look, I was in a different mindset back then when I did that. So there is no shame. I grew from it. That's how I can cancel that shame and walk in to any situation and go, yeah, I did that. It was pretty messed up, but I'm not her anymore. And I grew from that. So nobody can ever use my past against me, right? Because what I said at the top of the top of this live is that I am empowered to tell my story, and I can tell it when and how I want to, because I'm not stuck in shame and I'm not stuck in guilt. And that's how I want us all to be. You certainly wouldn't hold yourself accountable for something you did when you were 5 years old, right? So why do we continue to do that anyway? We have a total different mindset. We're living a total different reality. And that person you were many years ago or whatever, even if it was last week, you're not there anymore. So don't allow that to put you in shame or guilt and to box you in and to be less than who you feel like you deserve to be. Now, one other thing I want us to talk about is letting go of what people think about us. And that's why that's the importance of living authentically rather than always seeking approval from others. For many of us, that's hard. But when you really begin to be self aware of who you are, and when you really embrace that, there is a freedom there I can't even describe to you. Now, that doesn't mean you've reached the pinnacle when you get to that point. It just means that you are giving yourself the room, the freedom, and the love to be able to conquer more territory in your life. We have these layers, right? If I'm 52 years old, so I got a lot of life under me. So I got a lot of layers, right? There were so many years where I lived in shame and I allowed that darkness to take over. Or I listened to what other people said and they thought I was. And I assumed that. I took on that energy. And being able to let that go, that was just the beginning of it. Because as I released, I had to call in. And that's where the awareness comes from. There were people that told me I was so stupid that I would never amount to anything. And it took me years to get over that. But as I released that, I had to call in, well, Shanita, who are you? And I put all that in me. And because I am in alignment with that, I show up in a room so much differently than I would 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And this is something I want for all of us. I heard Jim Carrey say this one time, and I'm going to close a little bit after this, that many people experience depression and anxiety because they've been so consumed with playing a character that is not who they truly are. And when you allow yourself to not play this character anymore, you begin to release the exhaustion, the sadness, the negativity that comes with it. And that hit me so deeply because all those things other people said I was, who they perceived me to be, or who they limited me to being, it was exhausting because it wasn't true. I was not expressing my true authentic nature. And when I let that go, there was this weight that was lifted off of my shoulders. And at that moment, I began to ask myself, well, who are you? And I began to really study myself, to really ask myself some beautiful questions. And soon, over time, I was able to fill in the grid. Well, who are you? Who do you want to be? And I allowed myself to play this new character. And this new character is a lighter, happier, freer version of that old, non-productive person I used to be. So I say all this to say, The Gifts of Imperfection by Brene Brown. I hope you will take a look at it, read it, begin to soak in all the lessons for yourself and how you can really cultivate a loving and transformative relationship within yourself. I'm going to go back to the quote that I shared at the beginning. until we can receive with an open heart, we are never really going to, until we can receive with an open heart, we are never really giving with an open heart. My beautiful empath family, my beautiful highly sensitive family, make sure that you are allowing yourself to receive as well and to the same degree that you give to other people. When you are doing these things that I've listed out in this live, it's going to be so much easier to receive. You're going to find yourself waking up and doing it just like this. I'm receiving, I'm giving, I'm receiving. And it's going to be so much more impactful and beautiful. Now, if you go to IamFutureFocus.com, click on the Resourcery tab. I have a blog post written today about how to receive, the power of receiving, and how it helps your relationships. So you go to IamFutureFocus.com, you click on the Resourcery tab, and that is my blog space. I have so many free and wonderful tips and tools on how to better navigate relationships. And I also want you to sign up for my free monthly newsletter, because every month I give these tools, more tools, freely to you as a resource to help get you through the month. Now, just in case you don't need these things, please feel free to share this information with other people. We are in a time and space where we need as much information as possible. This is a gift from me to you, from my heart, because I love us and I know that we are winning. We are winning. Okay? I love you guys. May you be happy. May you be well. And may love always find its way to you. See you in the next video.